What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Sonoy Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show, joined once again by Ryan Davenport, and we're going to jump into this North Texas Navy game recap. But before we get into all that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football or G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that's truly all that we talk about. Ryan, thank you once again. I know you made the trip up to Navy. Yeah, just what are your initial thoughts on the game?
Fun game, fun experience up there. Annapolis is a awesome town. The fans there were amazing, really hospitable, and just a really neat experience to be there. So I think from a college football atmosphere, it's worth the trip. Um, and then game wise, I thought it was a good game. It came down to the last second. It was a close game. We didn't do what we needed to do to win, and that I think we were in position to win. I think that we absolutely could have won that game, but it was a tough loss at the end. We didn't do all the things we needed to. So
Kind of, we talked pre-tape about, the defense a little bit. So kind of going on right to there. So, like you said, and I agree. I mean, I feel like the defense, although they did allow, 331 yards, they only allowed 27 points and there was a few turnovers by the offense that didn't help that case. I feel like, they were positioned pretty well to keep the running contained, enough. But I mean, what are your thoughts defensively, specifically, and how Capone brought this defense out against Navy?
Well, I think we've talked a lot about the defense, and I think when they have an outing like they did this last week, you have to give them credit. I mean, Capone had the guys ready; they were stopping the run, they were putting Navy in tough spots. I think the defense did what they had to do to win the game, and if we're going to come on here and talk about the times they didn't, I feel like this game they did. I feel like the defense didn't cost us a game. The defense had us in the game. Obviously, 300 yards rushing is more than we wanted, but most of the game it felt like we were stopping Navy. We could stop Navy. They made a couple of big plays, but we did the things we needed to do to give our offense a chance to win the game. So much improved as far as having a bye week and then coming out against a difficult offense and being prepared. So that was good to see, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's weird. I mean, defense did enough, but and again over the 300 rushing. But yeah, I think that's fair, a fair assessment. So moving over to the offensive side of the ball, so, some more stuff that we talked pre-tape.
Right.
You were there. I wasn't. Just watching on TV, and there was 8 sacks. Some of those probably due to Rogers, trying to make something happen, holding on a little longer. Some of them, it seemed they got there pretty quick, and I don't know. I mean, it's kind of concerning. This is Navy. I mean, they're an interesting team. They're hard to scheme for, but they're not a top tier American team. And
Right.
if that's what happens against our O line against middle of the pack, lower of the pack American, it's kind of concerning going forward. But what are your thoughts of on the offensive side of the ball?
I mean, they were moving the ball. We had a touchdown first drive that got called back. We had a dropped pass in the end zone that should have been a touchdown. I mean, we had opportunity. We missed a field goal that would. I mean, we lost by 3 points. We missed a field goal. You know what I mean? And so there are times we did what we needed to do to win, but we just didn't make the small little play, and that's what was tough about this week's game. Um, I think Rogers was holding the ball a little longer than you'd like to see. Maybe he didn't hit some of his hot routes. I don't know the situation. Passing looked good. The one thing that bothered me about the offense was we had a lot. We went for I don't know 4 or 5 fourth downs. I mean, we had a fourth down. Seems like we're always going for it on fourth down, which means I felt like we were always playing a little behind the chains. We didn't have any penalties, which was somewhat unusual, but we weren't making enough yards on first and second down, and then we were putting ourselves in tough spots. So and then we had one at the end of the game too, and just didn't pan out for us.
Yeah. Yeah, Rogers, he goes 22 of 32, 267 yards, one touchdown. About 69% completion. I mean, he's that
He
completion
ran it a 75-yarder up the middle, looked good. I mean, he did a lot to put us in a position.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be negative on him. I mean, I think he played well. Getting rid of the ball, protection schemes, that's tough. Navy did a lot of moving around. They were inside, they were outside. They show blitz and back out. They would sit back and then bring people. They did a good job defensively, putting our guys in a tough spot. But still, at the end of the game, we're there to win it, and we just couldn't get it done. So.
Yeah, and obviously, that's football, but the touchdown pass that Trey Cleveland did drop changes the game completely. Yeah. So that's unfortunate. Ayo Aday, he rushed over 125 yards, 1 touchdown. That Rodgers, his rushing touchdown was 75 yards, right? Like that was from the 25, because he only got credited with 33 yards rushing. That's how many times the sack, take away.
The negative took him back.
40s, that's crazy. That's just nuts. To lose that much from, sacks. Maclin, with the touchdown reception, I feel like Maclin he just looks like a different receiver out there, former SEC receiver transferring in from Missouri a couple seasons back. So that's good. But right, I guess 2 questions for you here. What are you so we're coming in against Temple as I think a touchdown 6 or 7 point favorite. Again, and Temple's coming to town, coming to DAC this Saturday. They played UTSA close for a while. I think what was the final score? Like I think they lost by a touchdown. So what are your thoughts on the Temple game? Do you like our chances to beat them, or are you thinking it's going to be another conference loss?
I think that we are not in a position to compete with the top level at the American, but these mid-level games, Temple, Navy, not an American team, but Louisiana Tech, FIU, not an American team, but those teams, we've got to beat an FIU. That should have been a win, and that was a tough loss. But I think the offense is going to keep us around. If we can figure out slowing down another team and get prepared, I think offensively they're doing some things to keep the scores up, and they're getting the ball moved. And that's why, against good competition. So I've got to assume that we're going to be in every game. The question is just going to be, can we get up by enough? Can we get a couple of touchdown leads? I think close games don't work well for us because we're not stopping a lot of people right now. I think they did well against Navy. We'll see what they bring against Temple, but I think we're in every game right now. Maybe not when we get up against SMU or Tulane; those are going to be tall tasks. But the middle of the road American team, we ought to be competitive. That's my thoughts right
now. I watched not all of it, but a good part of the Temple UTSA game. And Temple's offensive line, they just look just bigger than our offensive line, just bigger guys. And when I was at the media day this summer and just seeing all the teams from the American, they just, they're bigs, their O-line, D-line, they look, big.
Right.
Whereas, I just don't feel like in North Texas, we're loaded with, a stable of really big bodies right now. So that's.
Well, whenever you go through a coaching change, you get some attrition there. There's guys who don't make the cut. There's guys who leave. There's guys who quit. I remember when we went through a coaching change, our size and strength and speed dipped off for a few years because you just don't have the program set up to be developing those athletes. You're kind of figuring that out when you come in as a coaching staff. So I'm not really surprised by that. Now, if we stay that way, that's a problem. And they were probably trying to see who they had and trying to put weight on some people. You don't know what was happening with the previous group or the previous coaching staff. So I'll tell you that's not uncommon, but definitely recruiting some big players is going to have to be a priority, the offensive and defensive line.
When you came to North Texas from the Air Force Academy, what was your height and weight then, and what was your height and weight when you finished playing? if you could
I
remember?
came out of high school 6'2", 225. I was a linebacker when I came to North Texas. I was probably 6'2", 245 when I got, through my first off season as a linebacker. When I ended up moving to defensive end and putting more weight on there, I ended my career at 6'2", 265.
So
So
you put on about 45 pounds of weight through your collegiate career.
yeah, probably.
Okay. So you think with the guys they're bringing in, we're going to see, body transformations, over the course of 3 or 4 years, stuff like
Yeah,
that?
2 to 3 years is what it takes to kind of mature and get into a weight program and get your nutrition right. It takes a few years, and that's why having a stable of solid juniors and seniors is important, because it's not just the time they've had on the field, it's the time they've had in the weight room, it's the time they've had in the off season. And so those are the guys, when you bring in a new staff, you lose some of those upperclassmen sometimes because they go to other schools or they quit or they decide they don't want to be a part of the new staff or whatever it is. And that's when it becomes more challenging, I think, your first couple years as a new head coach.
All right, Ryan. Well, anything else we need to touch on before we hop off here?
No, I think I would just say that, I appreciate the fans of Navy. It was a good time, and they did they definitely do a good job hosting a team. So my hat's off to them.
Yeah, I mean, first game, conference game for North Texas in the American, and yeah, just CBS Sports as opposed to some maybe not the best ESPN Plus coverage at times when we were in Conference USA. It was
Right.
it was nice from watching it from home too. It was a better experience than I've had in the past watching from home. So
Good.
that's great.
Well, that's definitely an upgrade for us, right? That's
Yes,
what we need to see.
absolutely. All right. Last thing. Do you think
Okay.
Temple is a must win for the momentum and just kind of moving forward? Just just kind of being a winnable game. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't think it's a must win. I said that at the beginning of the season. I don't think there are must wins, but it'd be a nice to win, bounce back, get a W, keep momentum going. That would be what I'd want to see. So
Okay, Ryan. Well, as always, go Mean Green.
go Mean Green.